Okay, so we're going to spend the bulk of our time hearing from our amazing panel who range from parents and teachers and Waldorf graduates. I'll tell you a little bit. My name is Lisa. I'm the dean here, and I'm one of the co-founders. So I've been here forever. Well, since years before it began. This is our 16th year open, and we've just closed escrow on this beautiful space. We're very excited to be owners of it now. The church that we were renting for 15 years closed during pandemic and gave us the first right of refusal. So we're really homeowners. It's kind of scary and exciting. So I did not know about Waldorf education growing up. I was brought up in the public schools. I grew up in Westminster, Huntington Beach, and knew nothing, went to college, graduated, worked, went and got my master's in England, in Canterbury, and all of a sudden everybody was talking to me about Waldorf education, and I had no idea what they were talking about. So that's a longer story there. But when I came back to the States, I immediately looked up my local Waldorf school, which was in Orange County at the time, in Newport Beach. And I wasn't thinking that's what I was going to do. I had my track to go get another MFA, become a college professor. And then I went to see the Waldorf school. And when I walked on campus, I was blown away by what I was watching. That these children were so happy to be at school, and there was art all over the walls, and teachers were strumming their guitar and singing, and there was just so much joy in the learning. I was so intrigued. I literally never left and contacted the university and said, I'm not going to do this other degree. Changed my mind, and I've been in Waldorf. That was in 1994. So, yeah, I think it's pretty spectacular. It's amazing to be here. There's a lot of joy and a love of learning here, and our teachers are so dedicated to see every child in their uniqueness. You're not asked to just be one type of child or hit one benchmark. So I'm excited for you to hear from our panelists today, and you can think about your questions. Maybe that video kind of sparked some ideas or some thoughts. So I'm going to actually hand it over to them. And it's we need to use the mic. You have to use the mic. So, do you want me to start with you or
So we have to.
you do? Because it's being.
Hi, I'm Kobe. I have a second grader and a fourth grader here. And got introduced to Waldorf because my wife said we had to look into it. And we did. And I had my doubts at first, as I've told Lisa, but it's been a great experience for our daughters. So.
What do you do in your life?
Oh, I'm a podiatrist.
I'm Amelia. I'm the first grade teacher. And I was a student at the Waldorf High School of San Diego. So I'm both a teacher at a Waldorf school and a Waldorf alumni.
I'm Aaron. I graduated here in 2020 as an 8th grader. I was the first to go through all 8 years of Waldorf education here. And I am currently at the Waldorf school she's talking about. It's called Waldorf School of Orange County. And I am a senior there.
Oh, I can't handle it.
We can talk about that later.
He's supposed to be in third grade. In my brain, you're in third grade. I'm Candace. I'm an ecologist. I work in the environmental education field. I work for Friends of the LA River. And my daughter, Eden, is in the 6th grade.
I'm Bobby Rose, and I was a Waldorf student from kindergarten through 8th grade at the Pasadena Waldorf School, where I graduated in 2013.
Hi, I am Bobby Gonzalez. I am her mother. I have been in Waldorf education for about 20 years now. I am a teacher currently in the 5th grade, and I am a parent to 4 daughters who all attend or attended Waldorf schools.
Good afternoon. My name is Maria Rivas. I am the mother to an 11-year-old who's currently in 5th grade. We've had the great... Oh, I keep on saying that. 6th grade. Thank you. We've been here since 2016. It's been a beautiful, long journey, and my academic background is in social work, and I'm an organizational social worker for a university.
Hello, everyone. My name is Mrs. Zadurian, and I'm the 7th grade teacher. We moved to Long Beach last year from Beirut, Lebanon, and I've been teaching for maybe 23 years, both at private regular schools in Lebanon and university. I have a master's degree in English language and literature. And it's when my kids were about to be of school age that I was introduced to Waldorf. Being a teacher at private schools, I knew the ins and outs and the failures of, mainstream education. And I couldn't just envision my kids going through that. So I homeschooled them for a while. Then it so happened that Waldorf Beirut was right next to our house, and I didn't know about it. So they attended there a year before we moved here. And it's, when I came here, there was a vacancy, and Miss Lisa said, are you interested? And I was. And I'm currently doing my training in Waldorf education at WSOC. My kids absolutely love it. They don't want to go home in the afternoon. So if there's a better indication that they're so happy at school, that would be it. And I absolutely love teaching the 7th graders. The curriculum is so rich, and it speaks to their souls, and it lives inside of them. And you see how they interact with the curriculum, and how the interaction with the curriculum helps them with the stages of the developmental stages that they're passing through. So, yeah.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to ask all of our panelists to maybe the mic will go this way this time. So you started that. I was going to ask kind of, in your different roles and in your different times of life, just anything that speaks to you about Waldorf education, what stood out for you if you're an alum, kind of what was that transition like? Because that's always a question we have, like, well, once you're in this smaller environment, what was it like to go to a different high school, or from high school to go on to college, or whatever that transition was? Maybe for the parents to think about any kind of growth or what you've seen in your student, or any kind of even about parental relationships or caregiver relationships here in the village, and how that's impacted you. And for our teachers, kind of why did you choose Waldorf education to be a teacher? You could be a teacher in many places. Okay, so yeah, you can add anything you want.
Yeah, I think I already was talking about that a bit. When I was teaching, particularly at schools, I spent maybe 8 years teaching, and I've taken countless workshops, endless courses, in order to try and figure out how can I do this thing in a better way, because I would always feel that I'm leaving some kids not behind, but I'm not reaching them in the proper way. So, it was an endless search for me, and I could never find the proper answer, despite the endless hours of, work I put into it. It only dawned to me when I discovered Waldorf education that the missing aspect that I was looking for was nowhere in the mainstream education, was the soul aspect. It's not there in mainstream education. You're only addressing the academics, the concepts that are already finalized and given to the kids, and you're expecting them to interact with it when nothing speaks to their souls. So that was the big aha moment for me. I can see it in my own kids at home, and I can see it in the students in my classroom. So that's the aspect for me that now I feel complete in my career in education, if you will.
I love that thought, soul work. I think that when I walked into an open house many moons ago, and I could see the light in the children and their excitement to be doing what they were doing, and the way that they were learning, and the movement, and the smells. It was like fairy dust in here. It's like, this is magic. And so it was like from the moment I walked in here, I knew that it was the right space for us because I could teach my daughter many things from an intellectual or academic perspective. But how do I teach her to be a good human? How do we do that soul work? And I don't know that I felt we could do that in any other place. There was such a connection to that here that I will probably tell this later, but at some point we, after the pandemic, decided to leave Maple Village and went to a public space, and the soul work was absolutely not there. And I saw the light in my child just kind of turn off in a way, and we turned that light back on really quickly. But I say that because the way that this community nourishes not only the children in their heart work and so in their community work and commitment in that way, but also the way that the faculty and the parents nurture each other, right? You can't teach community and soul work if you're not part of that as well. So I think that's what I love about being here the most.
Thank you. I was a Waldorf parent before I became a Waldorf teacher. So prior to my oldest starting school, I was part of corporate America. And so I was like, okay, I'm taking a year off while she does school so I can volunteer and I can just be present. So that was like the best year of my life. I was living in that kindergarten. And then I was like, okay, I have to go back to work. Someone said, do you want to just stay on for a little while? I said, okay, I'll try it for 1 year. It was like magic. I felt like I was getting this education all over again. And so I stayed at the Pasadena Waldorf School for maybe about another 6-7 years. And then I did the training. I went to the Waldorf School in Mexico. I worked there for a year. Then I went back to the Pasadena Waldorf School. And there's just something about children that we say, oh, the children are changing, children are changing. The times are changing, and the children are genuinely pure and good inside. And I think Waldorf School is really looking to see the best in a child and to pull it out and to bring it. And that is why I will never go anywhere else. That is the education that is meant for me.
Going off the purity of the child, I think a big factor of that was just the whole kind of anti-media and, not speaking about it at school, not really consuming it at home. It really allowed me to find other ways to entertain myself, such as reading. So it steered me away from seeking that instant gratification and instead, just gave me an imagination and allowed me to get into these books and these stories and really immerse myself in them. And then with the purity, you're not exposed to these ugly, terrible things that are going on, things that you shouldn't be exposed to at such a young age. And I think you do kind of get to hold on to your innocence longer and maybe just develop better and really let your brain grow the way it's supposed to rather than fast forwarding it and making yourself grow up faster than you need to.
Thank you for saying that. That makes me happy. We've been here since our daughter was 18 months old and parent taught, and we've been so fortunate, and we just love it. I think that for us, there are a couple different phrases that bounce around our house and in our friend group. One is developmentally appropriate, thinking about how children's brains, bodies, minds develop, and having the education match that as opposed to there's a test and we got to make sure we pass that test was huge for us, huge for our family. I was much more interested in her getting the education she needed for her growth than that the school needed for their growth. And so that was really important to us. Another is a research-based approach. We're nerds. We like our books. My husband's a librarian. We like to think about how things are kind of supposed to be. What does the research say about this? I always even when I was younger, I was like, somebody knows the answer to this. I don't need to figure this out on my own. And so I think that we have spent a lot of her childhood going, okay, what do the experts say about this? And it just points to Waldorf over and over and over and over again, which I love. And then we have a little bit of a lab in that where we live, we have really wonderful public schools. We don't have a problem with our public schools. They're safe, they're lovely, they're highly rated. However, we have our daughter's in Girl Scouts. She's been in Girl Scouts since kindergarten. She's a 6th grader now. And I get to kind of look at my child next to these other children and the way in which they're being educated, raised, and I am just consistently blown away by how incredibly poised she is, how confident she is, how she might not know that television reference. She might not know that cartoon character. She might not know that Disney princess, but she can speak for herself. She knows her own mind and her own heart. She is incredibly confident and incredibly thoughtful, and I know that comes from this education.
Building off that, I'm currently in the stage of my life where I have to apply to colleges. I would like to pretend that it's not stressful, but it is. Having to write my personal statement, I had to really look back on, I guess, 12 years of my life where I've grown as a person. And the biggest thing I've taken away, especially in high school, is the ability to stand for yourself and know within yourself that no matter where you go in life, you'll be able to stand proud and be able to learn. Because what Waldorf education really gives you, for me at least I feel like, is the ability to know that no matter what faces you, you'll find a way through. Because the education gives you not the facts. Well, they do give you the education. Sorry, I didn't mean to make it sound like it's like that. But in addition to learning the material, the way they teach you allows the child to, in a sense, find it out for themselves. And after, like, especially when you get to the middle school and high school, and when you learn like chemistry, physics, more standard academic subjects, the way it's brought to you allows you to figure it out yourself. And with that, I've been able to know that when I go out into the world, into college, when I face these harder classes, these 400, 500 level classes, I'll be prepared for them. Not in the sense that I will know the material, but I know how I'll be able to learn myself.
Yeah, I wanted to build off that and agree with that. I went to a Waldorf high school, and I think it really instills in you a genuine curiosity. It presents you with the materials. You are being taught, but more than that, you are learning how to learn. You're learning how to research and ask questions, and wherever that takes you, you have this wonderful foundation of imagination and curiosity. I think that it really served me well when I went to college. It helped me determine what kind of college I wanted to go to. I ended up going to a smaller school, still much bigger than my Waldorf high school, but still a smaller school, because I realized that being able to have that attention from a professor, being able to have a participation-focused learning was something I found really helpful, and I took that into my college life as well. And I could definitely see the difference. Not saying that my peers weren't incredibly smart and gifted, but I think that Waldorf gives you a passion for learning, whatever that is, whatever your passion lies. Because you went to a Waldorf school, because I went to a Waldorf school, I was able to advocate for myself. I knew my worth, I knew my intelligence, and I knew that if I tried hard enough, I could get anything, which I think is important in college. And now as a teacher, I think the beauty is in the imagination. I'm a 1st grade teacher, so it's very different than my Waldorf high school experience. It's right at the very beginning of that education. And right now we're just in this beautiful stage of imagination and fairy tales and creativity that is children blossoming and becoming themselves. And I think it's really beautiful to see.
What else can I add? That was amazing.
What have you seen in your own kids?
Yeah, we've been here since parent toddler, and I remember one night going to the Orange County open house, and my wife and I talked after, and we felt like we should have gone to this school. And it's just hearing Amelia and Aaron and Bobby Rose talk. I like their watching the panel. I like their poise. I remember watching them and hearing their focus, not having their phones out or anything. It was just interesting to see their how they described the whole growth that they'd been through. And I wanted my kids to be like that, honestly. And so we have two different kids. One's very exuberant, one's very closed. And this kind of environment nurtures them both. And I appreciate that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, hold on to it, because we don't know where it's going to go. Yeah, so we have about a half an hour left of our time. I really appreciate hearing all the different aspects, and I think that is something that I've seen over all these years, and is this, I have friends who are teachers and other, high schools or colleges, and I'm saying, like, when you come across a Waldorf student, like, you tell me, like, are we doing it right? Like, what are you seeing that makes you know they're a Waldorf kid? And they're like, okay, they're the ones with their hands always up. It's like, they're always raising their hand because they want to know more. And, they're the ones in my classroom at lunch and after school because they want to go deeper. And I think that's something that I've seen is the difference of, the child raising their hand because they want to know, is this on the test? Is this on the test? Versus I need to understand it, because they can't really move on unless they understand it. Everything builds on everything else. So they're used to having to know and having to understand it before they move on. So that's something that I've seen when I've seen students move ahead and ahead, is this, for them, school was about learning, not the grade. Because, you can't, it don't always match, let's say. So, I'm wondering if we can go along and open it up for questions, and then I have some more I can give to the panel. But, what are some questions you have from what you've heard or what you saw today, maybe if you've walked around the rooms about looking at the academics? Anybody have any questions? Yes.
Hi, I have a question for Aaron, or any of the kids who graduated from the Waldorf School. So since you did Waldorf High School, what was the college application process like? Did you take AP exams? Did you do the SATs? Like, how was that?
Okay, so at my school at least, we don't, actually this year we've just got approved to offer AP tests, AP testing courses, but before, because when I was in a junior, they didn't offer at the school, but many of my peers and the classmates above me went prepared with the teacher. So they asked our, let's say, math teacher if they want to take AP Calc. They separately asked her, and she was able to prepare a curriculum for them, and then they went out and tested at a separate school. And so that's how they got their AP credits. I'm personally taking AP Calc in the spring because I'm going into a STEM major, and I feel like that's going to benefit my degree. As for SATs or ACTs, I took the SAT last year in November. And so we take the PSAT in 10th and 11th grade, and seniors or juniors usually take the SAT on their own. So you just go sign up at through the College Board and you take the test. As for the other parts of my college applications, something that Waldorf really allows you to do is to write. Because there's so much critical thinking and discussion in your literature classes. For example, last year we just finished up reading through Dante's Inferno and Parsifal. And so those lessons really give you the ability to express yourself. And so every one of my classmates and I have been able to write a very concise and well-stated personal statement. Did you guys have anything else to add? Mm-hmm.
I did not go to a Waldorf high school. I went to a private Catholic school, which was very different than Waldorf education. One of the things that I felt I was going to be behind on was the only language that they offered was Latin. And I entered in 9th grade, and the kids in my class had been taking Latin since 7th and 8th grade. But I went on to take AP Latin 4 in my senior year and translated the entirety of the Aeneid from Latin to English. I also took AP Calculus and honors physics, and I graduated high school with honors, and I did really well. So, and also one thing that I kind of wanted to build on that Amelia and Aaron said earlier, like when we get to middle school, like we do make our own textbooks, and I think that's part of the reason why I am able to think so well for myself, is we would hear the stories in main lesson, and we would take our own notes and write down the information that we really got out of that, and we would go home and we would write up our own retellings of what we had learned that day in class. And so it really allows you to sink in the information, because you're not just reading a textbook and trying to memorize what you see on the pages. You're taking from what you got out of the story and you're putting it into your own words and writing it down. And that really helped me personally to retain the information and to have my own perspective on it.
I want to say one thing, it's a bit of a humble brag. So when Bobby Rose left Waldorf Education and she chose a different route, she didn't want the high school, I went to the parent-teacher conference, and her teacher came to me and she's like, I've been reading this book for 20 plus years with different groups of children every year in ninth grade. Bobby Rose has brought things that have never been brought to the table before in my 20 plus years of teaching this literature. So again, I was like, oh, that's because she's thinking for herself and she's kind of analyzing using that critical thinking process. So that was me just bragging.
Bragging is welcomed. Other questions that you're thinking of?
Yes. Out of curiosity, Bobby Rose, why did you not want to continue Waldorf in the high school? Rebel against her mother.
No, that's not it. When I was graduating 8th grade, I went to the Pasadena Waldorf School, and they had just started the high school. So my class would have been the second class in the high school. And so I just personally felt it wasn't extremely established yet. And I did want to, I still went to a very small school. I graduated with 20 people in my class, but I knew that there weren't going to be very many children in my class, and there was only one other class. So it was going to be very small, and I did want to meet different people and I was also very curious just to see what other type of educations there were. That's another thing about Waldorf. It allowed me to be curious. It gave me that curiosity about things that I didn't know and didn't have experience with, and the eagerness to find out about things that I wasn't familiar with.
Yeah. Other things rising up for you or questions? Yes.
I have another one for the parent here. I'm sorry, I don't remember your name.
Kobe.
Kobe, what were your apprehensions? You mentioned you had apprehensions early on when you were talking about Waldorf education. What were they? And then what did you see in your children once they had started that made you realize, oh, this is actually a good decision for my kids?
I mean, it's a lot, so I'll just focus on media. I like football, basketball, I like a lot of sports. That's how I grew up. And so this is very hard for me. So our journey, our kids brought us to Waldorf. I feel like just the way they are, they kind of led us here anyway. But before we got here, they didn't react very well to media, and so we weren't watching a lot of TV anyway, right? It would just flip out. And so by the time we got here, we weren't watching a lot of TV. It wasn't just background noise. So I'd already stopped watching football and basketball and things like that. And so once we got here, it was reinforced, right, in the environment. So that helps. So now what I've noticed is that it brings me closer to my daughters. When I'm with them, I'm actually with them. I work a lot, and so when I'm home, I'm actually home. And in terms of the media, I know sometimes it can be a sticking point. Once we were in the Apple store, and she didn't, she sees my phone, but it's not on. And so while we were waiting, I'm just outing myself, but she was kind of antsy, and so I just gave her a phone and said, yeah, just play this game. She's never played the game before. Not kidding, within 2 minutes, it was a kind of a crazy game in some dungeon somewhere, like just jumping over things. And she figured it out within like 2 minutes. And I just figured that, okay, if she can do this, then media really is not a big deal. She can be more of a creator as opposed to a consumer. And so if we do watch TV, for example, I'm making a tribute video for my sister. And so she'll come in a room and I'm like, all right, you're not supposed to be on the media. But she brought, like Bobby Rose said, she brought a different perspective to it with the different pictures of my mom and my sister. She pointed things out and I ended up labeling them. And I did one for my mom too. And my mom said, who's the one that did this? So I kind of like that when they do consume media, it's for a purpose. And so my hesitation was mainly media. It was other things, maybe math and things like that. But talking to Aaron and Bobby Rose and Miss Amelia, they were alleviated, right? Because he's taking calculus and so did she. So I think if they're curious enough about things, Waldorf will, the individualized growth and study, it'll lead them there. So if they want to be creators, they can be creators. If they want to do STEM, they can do STEM. Yeah, so those are the two main things I was concerned about. Yeah. But not anymore.
Not anymore.
We still watch football, right?
I know. My team is the Jets. They're not good, so we don't watch.
Yes.
So I've heard the media thing mentioned a few times. Is it like encouraged, like do kids who go here, their families don't watch TV?
So different Waldorf schools at different places will have their own media policies, but in general, well, I can talk in general, and then I can talk about our school. So yeah, I mean, you want to know about our school? Yeah. So the part about media is. And that's like a whole lecture on its own, like the why. Just all the neuroscience right now that's coming out about how it's wiring the brain and how you need like a change. And there's attention deficits happening because of that need to keep having those. Yeah. So what we say, and in our parent handbook, is that we ask that that there be no media for the kiddos after school. They learn so much here in a day, and it's a full day because they have their, all of what you'd imagine, their mathematics, their language arts, their history, geography, and all that, and handwork, and woodworking, and chorus, and strings, and games, and Japanese, and Spanish. So we ask, they go home and they just digest that work. Have a snack, go play. Our homework doesn't start until later, like kind of 4th grade. It shouldn't be busy work. They've had a full day. So what we find is that when they go home and if they start watching a lot of media, it's kind of just like all that stuff they learned in the day. Now they're just kind of, I won't say being programmed, but that's what they're digesting now. And then they come to school and then they imitate it. So they're losing their own ideas, their own creativity, their own stuff. And what they're doing is if they're watching, they're coming to school and they're playing the character that they saw. And they're just, they took it in and now they're going to imitate it. And so we ask that they not be on that kind of media, as well as video games, which are very fast paced. And that's a whole nother lecture on the brain. And as a family, you say, oh, we'd like to, do something that we ask that it be on a Saturday, like on the weekend, when they have a little more time to let that go before they come in on Monday morning. And we can see the difference. And we're not making you sign in blood, I mean, there are also professions. I mean, my husband's a graphic designer, so there was all these things going on. But my kiddos grew up media free, and my oldest is making his living in film. So just like you're saying, it was like, everyone's like, oh my gosh, but if they're not, like, how are they going to know? And, he grew up creating and he finally got that camcorder, and started creating things because he wanted to inspire people. So it's also the why behind once you do get on media. And we also offer something called cyber civics when they get into middle school, which is before you hop on the digital playground of social media and Instagram and all the things that are out there for the kids now, TikTok and all, it's how are you going to play on the digital playground? What you put out there doesn't ever go away. Make sure you're being smart about it. How are you going to respond to people? All of that before they start to get into that world. So that's the answer to our policy. We're not going to come to your home and like check on you at 4:00 and, but the why behind it is that, yeah.
And I totally agree with the why behind it. It's just like,
Yeah.
we fall into some pretty bad habits, and
Yeah.
as parents, it's like, I need a break sometimes.
Yeah, I need to cook dinner and I think like I can say, and then I want to hear it from you, Maria, for sure, is that it's the thing about watching TV or video games or whatever that is what are you not doing while you're doing that? It's kind of like there's so much they can be doing. Like my oldest son, I remember him saying to me, "Oh, I don't understand. When do people have time to watch TV? I'm so busy." Like, because he was just building things and creating things, and there's so much to do. That was a funny thing. I was like, oh, interesting perspective. But we're not extremists. We understand. I mean, media is everywhere. You're at the grocery store. It's at the checkout. It's at the gas stations. It's everywhere. So we just try and give them a protected environment here to be there and like come up with their own ideas. Maria?
Something that I really appreciated about the discussion around media, Candace and I have been together since first grade. And one of the things that our class did was have a meeting as a parent group. Where do you all stand with media usage? What are the mutual agreements that we're making around media? Because maybe I'm committed to holding that accountability in my family to no media exposure, but Bobby isn't, right? And our kids are coming and sharing space together and having conversations around that exposure. And so I really appreciated that at that point, there was a really strong commitment from families to keep children off media and understanding the whys. And we did that as a group, right? So my child isn't coming home saying, well, Bobby's son did X, Y, and Z, but why am I not allowed to, right? And things happen, but for the most part, I felt really strongly that at that point we did a good job. Then the pandemic happened, and that's a different discussion.
Yeah.
I would say, well, I'll add to that because we had a meeting in first grade about what are we going to do with media and what are we going to do about phones, right? And we had that discussion about when is your kid getting a phone? When is your kid getting a phone? It felt really good to agree. It felt really good to understand. And at our house, there's no TV until the weekend. And that's just the way it is. There's no TV, there's no screens until the weekend. And it's family movie night on Friday night. And that kind of like is the kind of the beginning of the media time. It's like family movie night. But I think that if you don't have that agreement, if you're not in agreement together, then you lose that. And we didn't buy a television until the pandemic. We were that house that didn't have a TV. And people thought that was weird, but not our class. And that makes it easier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think also, like, if you're not consuming a ton of media, you don't miss it. So it's not like, oh, I'm not allowed to watch TV, but I really, really want to. It's like, I'm not allowed to watch TV and I'm used to it. And I would much rather spend my days reading my book because the story's getting really interesting and I want to keep reading it and like, oh, can I please stay up later reading my book? Not can I please stay up later watching TV or playing a video game or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thanks for that perspective. And I mean, it's an ongoing conversation here. The faculty was even talking this year. We're going to find a speaker to come in and talk about the whys and the brain and all the things. And again, it's not a judgmental group. It's just we're all living life and doing the best we can, and we all have different situations. We have different caregivers who watch our kids during the day. We don't, we have to also thank them and not put doing too many rules of somebody who is watching them if they're doing you a favor. So there's real life situation. I mean, I will say that, so I have 3 boys. They're now 21, 23, and 26. Oh my gosh, almost 27. Like, how did that happen? They all went to UCLA. My youngest is a senior. Well, that's crazy. They all wrote their college essays, their entrance essays on growing up in some way, shape, or form the way they grew up and how it made them the creators instead of the consumers. And my oldest is in film, which I mentioned. My middle guy is a mechanical engineer. He works for Honda Racing. He's designing their race car engines for Indy and Formula One. It's his dream. And my youngest is he's figuring it out right now. But later on, as they reflected back, that's what they wrote about. And they were so thankful for having the time to figure out who they were and what did they love to do, rather than kind of spacing out over stuff that they didn't remember spacing out on, you know. But again, we kind of figured it out, you know, like what works for our family. So, yeah. Yeah.
I will say when I chose Waldorf Education, my father was not very happy about it at the time because he didn't know how I was going to keep Bobby Rose away from computers in this new age of technology. So Bobby Rose and her sisters didn't have access to phone, computers. And then the real world happened and they started high school. And even at the Waldorf High School, they're having to use the computer. And it's amazing I think it stems out of curiosity, and you're probably better to take this and I'll hand it over. They acclimated just fine and they were able to learn and discover and use these tools of technology. They weren't behind. So may I, Aaron?
Then Aaron, you know I'm going to make you talk about the race and the Vegas thing.
Yeah. So like Ms. Gonzalez said, when you get to high school, it is required that you have a computer because we do our own research for our essays. Last year I had to write a essay on bioethics, and I chose the kind of route of the kind of ethics side of AI, and so I had to do my own research for that thing. And so you write your own, also you write your essays on the computer, obviously, in a Google Doc. And so but you are exposed to it, and it is required in high school. But at the same time, I personally grew up in a very strict household where I had pretty much none growing up. And so, but what's it called again? My friends, especially in middle school, would bring like things from like, I don't know, things they saw on either social media or like a movie they watched. But I never missed out in a sense because as soon as I got to high school, those skills kind of instantly click. I knew intuitively how to use a computer. It never really took me that long. I was typing at like 60 words per minute after like a summer practicing typing. And so I was for the longest time concerned that I would be behind when I went to high school because obviously my friends talked about all the, I don't know, things they did on their computers, the games they played or the movies they watched, and just the general skills of like, oh, one was editing a video. But I realized that because of how Waldorf is kind of geared towards, as she said, like learning how to learn, you can catch up really quickly.
And what did you do just recently?
Oh, okay.
I'm like, fishing. Mm-hmm.
So at my school, we have a hydrogen fuel cell powered RC car racing program, which started 2 years ago. This is the thing you want me to talk about,
yes.
right? Yes. Just to confirm. And so it's a program brought by a company, I think, in Eastern Europe called Horizon Education, or the company is called Horizon, and they have a separate branch called Horizon Education. And so in America, they have these races where it's like a car around this big. It's remote controlled and it's powered by a hydrogen fuel cell stack. And so it was brought to our school 2 years ago now. And so it's a team of 5 kids. Each team is 5 kids. We have 2 teams, so we have a total of 10. And we engineer our entire car from the ground up. You get the hydrogen fuel cell, but you can modify it, you can take it apart, you can do whatever you think is going to be the most efficient. And so just recently, actually just this September, my team made it to the World Championships in Las Vegas, and we were very honored to be there. It was our second year. We were the youngest team there, and we placed 10th. So we're 10th best team in the world out of around like 250 teams worldwide. And so even though I had, let's say, less exposure to STEM as I went through, especially elementary and middle school, you never miss it because you can always learn.
And Aaron was a team leader, but he's too humble
yes,
to tell you that.
I'm the head engineer for my school's club, and this last year, Actually, yes, last year I took over the team leadership position.
So proud. Yes, Carmen.
How long is the day here?
Great question. So, if there's any early childhood families, those the preschool day is 8:45 to 12:45 with the option of aftercare until 3:15, or yes, and then for kindergarten it's 8:45 till 1:15, and then they have option of early childhood aftercare to 3:15, or they can merge into the grades aftercare till 5:30. Grades 1 and 2, it's 8:20 to 2:30. Again, there's aftercare options if you need. And grades 3, 4, and 5, it's 8:20 till 3 o'clock. And then 6, 7, 8, it's 8:20 till 3:30. Yeah, aftercare goes till 5:30. Obviously, the 2:30 and the 3 and the 3:30 merge in at different times. There's our aftercare teacher loves to cook, so there is a warm snack that I think your kids probably could talk about because they used to really love that snack. Different days, different things. It's just some outdoor play. As it's going to get darker, they're going to move inside and have board games. There's just a time to decompress.
My kids never want to leave. They tell us to pick them up at 5:30 on the dot. Yeah, and then they're climbing the tree.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I'm like, it's time to go.
Yeah.
It's that unstructured play that they miss nowadays because everything's scheduled and.
Yes.
Can I add?
I'm sorry.
No, I just wanted to
Pass it.
talk about just one thing.
When my oldest was 5 years old, the pandemic started, and I had tried regular school for 2 weeks, and we had pulled her out, and I taught her reading and math and so on, and she was struggling, and I was wondering, why is she struggling? I'm the teacher, I know all of this stuff, I do this so well with the and I kind of like insisted, and I think that's where I failed because I pushed too much. And she's still, nowadays, if I ask her to read, she's like, If I ask her to do math, she's like, She's still, but, she's gaining that momentum this is the second year she's here. She's a bit more excited to read and do the math. But I see the complete difference with my youngest. I didn't do anything at all. So she was completely, if you want, Waldorf. When we came here, she did the second time kindergarten because the cutoff date was May to be 6 to be in first grade, and her birthday was in October, so she did an extra year. Some of my, family were saying, she should be doing this, and so I didn't listen to anyone. She spent the extra year in kindergarten, and it was amazing for her. It sparked that interest in her. By last summer, she was so eager to learn how to read, it consumed her. She's like, she started counting by herself, and she would ask her sister, pick up some stuff. And now, she's in Miss Amelia's class, the first grade. She's just beaming with letters and numbers. I would see her, in the afternoon because, they don't have media. She sits and writes stuff. She asks her sister. She knows the letters. She does addition exercises for herself, and she asks me to correct them. And last year, when she was in kindergarten, people would ask her, what are you learning? And she would simply answer, I don't learn anything. I just play all day long because she's in kindergarten, not knowing that the skills she was learning in kindergarten were so helpful for her in first grade. So that excitement for joy and learning, I can see it completely in my youngest daughter. So that's what I wanted to share.
Thank you. Yeah, let's do one more question, and then I want to honor everyone's time because we're almost out of time. You had a question? Yeah. It's okay. You're on.
So my son's about to start kindergarten, so we're just trying to figure out where to go. Is there a type of child or personality or learning style that Waldorf would not be for?
This child right here, she wanted facts, she wanted books, she wanted information, she wanted to be fed information. I was like, oh, no, child. Especially because you are seeking this, you need this whole well-rounded education. So I will say the curriculum is so engaging, and teachers, part of our training is to teach to these different types of learners, different types of temperaments. So a teacher will bring in every element that will pull in every type of student every single day for every single lesson. So I honestly cannot say that I've met a child that Waldorf education hasn't served.
Mm-hmm. I can add to that is because I've talked to so many families over time and what they're looking for. I would say as a family, if you want a child-led education, then this is different. This is a teacher-led education, meaning child-led is kind of like go to whichever centers you want to go to. Like if you're really, really into math and science, just go more to that direction where we are creating this well-rounded child. Everyone's going to sing. Everyone's going to do strings. Everyone's going to learn how to knit and crochet and all the things. And if you're a family that doesn't want that, the honest is maybe that's not a match. That's my honest answer. Yeah. Erin?
I just wanted to add something. I do agree with that. However, I think in high school it's a little bit different. You're kind of let loose into the world. And so a lot of my friends and classmates have found their own passions. But because they kind of introduced to a small bit of everything as they grew up, you kind of really, you're able to know, you had experienced everything, and then also you can kind of pull from different things. So I have a couple of friends that are, one friend that's really into STEM, but they're still able to pull from their literature side and the ethics side of what they're doing because everything is so connected.
Mm-hmm.
Just going off of that, I do remember in high school, I'd be in math class, I'd be in history class, I'd be in history, literature, math, and I would see how each of them connected to each other. I'm like, oh, I'm learning this, and somehow it relates to a completely different subject that I'm also learning at the same time. And one thing that was super, super random, but Aaron was talking about typing and how fast he's able to type. I never took a typing class. But I learned how to move my fingers, playing the recorder, playing the clarinet, playing the cello, and I can type incredibly fast without ever having been taught how to do that. And sorry, one last thing is our language is a lot different. When I hang out with my friends that went to Waldorf or just being in it, we don't say bad words. We're not being mean to each other. Mm-hmm. And I go out and meet other people who didn't have that type of education, and they're just dropping bad word after bad word, and it's why are you talking like that? It's so vulgar, It's just, I think it does help you to be more polite and well spoken.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that part up. Yep, Aaron, do you want to?
I realize we've gone completely off track of your question, but just to tie it back, I think. For especially elementary and then middle school, in my experience, like Miss Lisa said, it's a very curriculum and teacher-led kind of system where you're definitely led to do certain things because this is the curriculum. However, I think after kind of maybe 7th, 8th grade and definitely into high school, it changes a little bit. And so you might, I definitely had become frustrated at some points because I do have very strong passions in certain subjects that I couldn't explore to what I thought would a public, let's say if I went to what is that academy down there? Santos Academy, where it's purely STEM, I would have only had STEM. But I think looking back, it was a very valuable experience being able to learn a lot of things. Yeah.
Yeah.
Question is so is the curriculum oriented in a way where you're trying to find the individual aspects of each of the students and the vertical reflect the parents and then try to figure out a curriculum for within the home as well? So considering you have half day here and half home school.
Yeah, we don't offer that currently. It's a full day of home. Of home. A full day. It feels like home. Well, that's a song we sang at Stargazing. We have, just full enrollment at school. We don't have a blended program. But certainly the curriculum that's offered is very, very apparent. We are not hiding anything. We have orientation at the beginning of the year. You see exactly the curriculum for the year. We work in a block system for the grades, meaning like we're in depth for 3 to 4 weeks in language arts, but you're practicing math throughout the day. Or if you're in your math block, you're deep into math for 3 to 4 weeks, and then you're still practicing your language arts. And as it moves on into the grades, you're going to have geography, you're going to have history, you're going to have physics and chemistry and all these things. And so the parents are able to support that if there's like, if you need to go deeper and the child is struggling to understand something, then we ask for a homeschool partnership as far as like, hey, your kiddo's just like really thriving in here and they're kind of struggling here. What are we going to do about that together? We really work in partnership with the parents so that parents really understand what's going on in the classroom. Yeah.
And now if they have like specialties where they're doing very well in certain subjects, is that kind of like oriented so that the kid can express themselves a little bit better then?
Are you talking about like the basic like math, science, language arts? I can ask the teachers that. There's always, I think Bobby, you could answer this, and Helen, you can. In a classroom, there's a range of abilities in different subjects for sure. So there's some ability and flexibility to meet the child where they are and push them a little farther. So do you want to?
Yeah, and I'm not sure if I'm going to answer directly the question, but it's really good to have, everyone has something that they are good at, because maybe I didn't learn to read the fastest and I can't do that, but I'm an amazing artist and the students recognize each other's strengths and really build each other up. I think part of it is having this well-roundedness. So I have students who are extremely gifted in math, and that's really good. I don't need to feed that right now. I really need to teach you how to write and express yourself. So it's really working on a well-balanced, well-rounded student.
Just the same.
Mm-hmm.
Please do.
As a parent, and Marie and I are in the same boat, our girls are very similar. They excel in language arts, and they are constantly reading and writing and making up their own stories and writing their own. My daughter's on her 4th book. This is what they do. And having a teacher that gets that is so beautiful. Our teacher understands that our girls kind of have a different way of approaching the material, and so she responds to them differently. We were just talking before this. I said to Maria, do you know that they go out of the room during that reading time because they're going faster than the rest of the class? We were talking about whether or not they could come and sit in here instead of just sitting on the steps. Either way is fine. But that's what's happening. With my education background, it's differentiated instruction. Looking at how each child needs to be met differently, I think is so much easier in a class of 10, 12, 15 than it is in a class of 40.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, I want to honor the time. It's 1:50. We said we'd end at 1:45, and your questions are so good. And thank you so much to our panel for taking the time out of their days to share their varied perspectives. And I'll still be here if anyone had questions they didn't feel like they wanted to ask in the group. But yeah, thank you for coming today, and I'll hang out, and you can.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
All right.